Welcome back to Cube 57 and Houston Legends, brought to you by the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO, and we're happy to have our next guest here. You probably recognize some of his restaurants that you'll be seeing throughout the footage here, but we're happy to have him. We're going to learn a little bit more about this entrepreneur, Russell Ybarra. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
We appreciate it, and we appreciate the fact that you've been engaged with our Chamber of Commerce. I know many years ago when I first came to the Chamber, you were our Entrepreneur of the Year,
yes.
And you certainly since have continued to grow your franchises, your dream of being an entrepreneur, restaurateur. You've taken it to new heights, certainly. So welcome and thanks again.
Well, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about your restaurant empire, because it's certainly becoming that you've employed so many people and you're keeping our economy growing. Tell us a little bit about where you are today in terms of your restaurants.
Well, today as a matter of fact, today we're opening up our 13th Gringos Tex-Mex location in New Caney, and then we also have 4 Jimmy Changas, and a couple other one-off units, Burger Libre, the Lunchbox, and we started burritos 10 years ago, and we sold it off, but we still own 1 store today.
Where's the last burritos located?
In Burritos, LaPorte, yeah, near our corporate offices.
Yeah. So what does it feel like to be responsible for not only the restaurants themselves, but truly families?
There's a great sense of responsibility that I feel, definitely, because you're right. I know that a lot of decisions I make could impact a lot of families, and one being politics. I try to really remain neutral, because at the end of the day, we serve both Republicans and Democrats and Independents.
Yeah.
So
they all have the same kind of money, and it's
yes,
green.
Yes, and we love them all. Trust me. Yes.
Yeah. So how many employees do you have these days?
Altogether, system-wide, we're about 2,000 right now. Yes.
What do you find as a restaurateur is your biggest challenge, perhaps for you and your fellow restaurateurs?
Well, the biggest challenge will always be maintaining consistency from location to location, and we try to establish systems in place to make sure that happens. But most importantly, we really try to retain our people, because they're a huge part of why we're consistent at what we do.
And I'm sure you have some long-time employees. Any
yes.
that stand out in terms of years of service?
Oh yes, definitely. When I opened Gringos on January 11th of 1993, Hugo Ybarra was my kitchen guy.
Yes.
And we just celebrated our 25th year this past January, and Hugo's still with me today. Oh. His nickname is Dos Caballos, because he does the work of 2 men.
You know what? I'm sure a lot of your employees do the work of two people for sure. And let's talk about that. Something that I found very interesting, and I appreciate coming from a family of entrepreneurs and restaurateurs, is the fact that you really single out your dishwashers. And people don't realize that job.
Yes,
so thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. That was my first job, actually, washing dishes. So I can appreciate the hard work they do. Yes. And as a matter of fact, when I washed dishes many years ago, I never did it at the volume that they're doing it today. And it's almost like a thankless position. They're invisible to everyone, but yet they are one of the most important people in the restaurant, because without them, the restaurant comes to a grinding halt. That's
so true. That's very true. So I was very happy to see how you really made them feel special, and you're absolutely right. You see, everyone else is moving. They stay in one spot, and if they're not pushing out all of the dishes, everything slows down.
Right.
So.
We try to give them a really nice work environment, all state-of-the-art equipment, and also.
Yeah, and let's talk about, again, just going back to your employees. I'm sure you've had some that started out maybe washing dishes or as servers that perhaps today are doing other jobs within your group.
We try to promote from within anytime we can, because they understand, they grew up with a culture, and we want them to continue it. But one example is today our general manager, who's opening up the New Caney store, has been a general manager at a Texas City store, but he started off as a busser. And now he's a general manager and earning 6 figures, and he's happy. So we're thrilled to have him.
Well, the truth is that within the restaurant business, no one does just one job. I mean, I know for a fact that you have done everything from washing the dishes to what you're doing today, and being able to cross-train your employees and making sure that you're helping them move up that ladder, and that they sense that they are valued and that you're taking really good care of them.
Right. We want to create opportunities anytime we can. So definitely,
So when Russell is not running in restaurants and coming up with new ideas and thoughts, what do you like to do for fun?
I love to travel. I just came back from Europe. I went and saw U2 in 3 different cities, and I did it last summer, and I just enjoy traveling and concerts.
Now when you go out to eat, are you watching processes and systems? Are you enjoying your meal,
Always.
but you're also just
Always.
picking up
it's
nuances
hard,
and
it's hard
details?
to turn off. It really is. But I enjoy going to other restaurants and seeing what they do and all the different nuances here and there. And yeah, it's a great business to be in because of all the variations of how you can create a plate and make it look beautiful.
And always trying to get better.
Always,
Yes.
always, yeah.
There's always room for improvement.
That's our last core value, never being satisfied, which, you know, we always look for ways to improve anywhere and everywhere we can.
Very well. Well, we'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. Continue our conversation with entrepreneur restaurateur Russell. You were telling us a little bit about your many locations and now the next generation in your family. Tell us a little bit about your family, how many children, and what are they doing these days?
Well, I have two children, Steve and Derek, and Steve graduated recently from Wharton with his MBA and then joined our team to help some interloop development that we're doing.
Yes.
And then Derek is working at one of the restaurants, Burger Libre, since it's a new store we're really taking care of it closely.
So tell me a little bit about growing up. Were you always in your mind thinking that you wanted to run a restaurant, become an entrepreneur? You come from a family of entrepreneurs and restaurateurs. What was your thought process getting to where you are today?
Well, I was very fortunate to grow up in the presence of a visionary, my dad, who started El Toro in 1960. And seeing the things that he did, he was really ahead of his time. He had traveled to Mexico in the 70s to buy an avocado farm, and they didn't allow avocados to be imported from Mexico to the United States back then, but they are now, of course. And saw him almost buy a jalapeno plant, and he developed a central kitchen where he did some of his processing. And so I learned a lot just by watching the things that he was doing back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And then I got my opportunity in the 90s to open up my first restaurant, but I'm very grateful to my dad.
Yes. So let's talk about, as you were growing up and working, what was your first paycheck? What did you do to earn your first paycheck?
Believe it or not, making tamales.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What kind? Pork or chicken?
Pork, of course, pork. But yeah, back when I was just a young, probably 12 or 13 years old, I would go to the commissary. They would make tamales every week, and I would be there and taking them off the conveyor and just wrapping them.
So were you a better salesperson or a tamale maker? What would you say?
Probably a better, well, a little of each, but better salesperson than anything.
Yeah.
I think if I believe in something, I can sell it.
Yeah. And growing up, let's talk about high school. What were your high school days like, and were you thinking about going off on your own someday?
I suffered from ADD from day one.
Yes.
I was a dreamer. As a matter of fact, when I was in second grade, the report card, the teacher wrote on it, Russell always seems to be lost in space. And I just always dreamed, I guess. Yeah. And that's why, fortunately, I think that's why where we're at today, because I do enjoy dreaming about the possibilities. Yeah.
And for your children, growing up in your family now and seeing your success, what do you hope your legacy will be for your children?
That's an easy one. I want them to see the power of giving, of taking care of your fellow man. We do a lot of things. Our core value, reinvesting our team members and local community, is the cornerstone of our success. We do that to degrees that I don't think other companies do, and there's a reason. At the end of the day, we'll leave the earth with what we came into it with, and I just love seeing the impact our business can have on the community today. So we do a lot of that.
So speaking of which, you started your first restaurant. How long was it before you embarked on the second one, and did you think that ultimately you'd have so many locations?
My approach has always been one location at a time, make sure that whichever location we open up is up and running correctly and profitably. But yeah, we always knew that the life I wanted to live was not going to be able to be done with 1 unit or 2 units or 3 units. But it's just kind of created its own momentum because of the success that each location has had, to where we have to grow. I mean, we almost have to grow.
How have you been able to retain those employees and help them grow as part of your success?
Well, they see that that we back our words with action, and they're just not words on a wall, printed on a wall. We really do help our team members to incredible levels. One, for example, is we've done probably 14 complete dental makeovers, which is very life-changing, as you can imagine. And it's beautiful to see a person come out of the shell that you never saw before. And so we really enjoy doing things like that. We recently purchased a Autobach X3 prosthetic leg for a to-go person in our Texas City location, and it was very, very expensive. Let me just say that. But it was something that most people wouldn't even think a business would do for someone, but we did it, and those are the things that gives us the most joy. It's conscious capitalism at the highest level.
Well, and speaking of which, we have a lot of people who watch our program who are aspiring entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What advice would you have for them as they perhaps are launching or perhaps are already in a business and, as you know, just struggling to make that payroll?
You know, when I opened Gringos in '93, there wasn't Google, so I didn't have access like they do at their fingertips to really research anything. But I would find the best example of what they want to become and go study that person, go study that company. And you know, back in the 80s and into the 90s, I've always admired the Pappas restaurant organization. Yes. And I always told myself if I want to be anything like them, I had one or two choices. Go work for them or hire someone that worked for them. Okay. And in '96, my general manager was a former general manager of Pappasitos. And again, it's about tapping into that mindset that can take you where you want to go, and it's very important to pay attention to that.
Well, that's very good advice, and we really thank you, and again, we're so very proud of you and all that you've been able to do, and certainly you've changed the landscape for restaurants and all of the many families and people that you've hired that today are doing well because of your work and that of your employees and workforce.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and on behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, we want to thank you for joining us here on Houston Legends. Keep watching us on Cube 57. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo. Thank you.